How's it going, guys? Today we're going to be changing brake pads on a RZR. This is the same for pretty much every RZR. I know for sure 2014 to today's 2021, so in that range there. Real easy process, but there is a little trick I'm going to show you to save you a little bit of time. So we're going to go ahead and get started. If you find this video helpful, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions, drop them down in the comments and we'll do our best to help you out. So we're going to go ahead, I'll show you what tools we need, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. So it's really simple. You either need a wrench it in a socket. It's either 19 millimeter or 3/4. If you got standard or American, it's either of those two. I'm going to use an impact wrench to get the lug nuts off the tire. And then all the tools you need to actually remove the caliper and change the brakes is you just need a 15 millimeter wrench or socket. Well, you need a wrench because you can't get a socket at the bottom bolt, so 15 millimeter wrench. I'm going to use a ratcheting wrench. You'll need a big set of channel locks for sure. And then I keep a smaller set too, just it might make it a little bit easier. This is just to squeeze the pistons back in on the caliper. And then I always like to sand the rods at the chute or the pads ride on, and then I'll put some Seal Glide on it just to help keep brake shoes from locking on that rod. This machine here, I took the tires off a couple days ago, and the inside pad was wore more than the outside pad, so that's why we're going to sand it up and clean it up and put this Seal Glide on it. So the first thing you do, and you need a jack and jack stand. So the first thing you do is jack it up so your tire's off the ground, and make sure you put a jack stand under there in case the jack would fail. So that's the first thing. I already did that. I'm sure you all know how to do that. So go ahead and take the tire off. That. And like I said, make sure you got jack stands under there. That's probably the most important part in my opinion. So now basically all there is there's a 15 millimeter bolt. I'll bring you in closer so you can see. There's a 15 millimeter bolt here at the top, and then there's another one here at the bottom. So we're just going to loosen those up, take those bolts clear out, and then that'll take the caliper off. So we'll go ahead and take those two bolts out. You could use a wrench or a socket on this one, but the bottom one you can't. Or you probably could actually. I'm thinking I'm just working on a 1000, but they're all 15 millimeter. They're all basically the same thing. The only difference is the calipers are bigger on the rears and fronts, and the difference between the different models. But as far as operation, they're all the same. We got those bolts out. This just pulls off, kind of wiggle it and pull. Be careful you don't crimp your brake line somehow. So now with the old pads still in there, I'm gonna take my big channel locks. Need them about 3/4 of the way open, and just run your pistons back in. They're back in. Now here's the trick to these. A lot of guys, and I know I did it my first time, will take this thing off and then take these out and realize that's just a pipe plug back there. It doesn't really do anything to get this thing in there. Gonna pull this rod out the back. You actually don't got to do nothing. All you do is push this forward with your hands, and you saw that brake pad actually just fell off by itself. It's that simple. That's all there is to it. Now you can see how corroded these are. So we're going to clean that up with the emery cloth. I'll put a link down in the description for this brake lubricant I'm using, and I also like to use a anti-seize. Put a link down in the description for that also. Now, as far as shoes, I'm a big believer in the Polaris shoes. I know a lot of the stuff they make is junk, but their shoes, or their pads, I mean, they're the best lasting pads I've seen. We've tried a bunch of different brands, and Polaris seems to be the longest lasting. I don't know what they put in them, and they're quiet too. They don't make any noise. So you want to try and get all that rust off of there. What I'm doing, this is gonna let the brake pad slide easier, so it won't wear out that inside pad more than the outside pad. You can see the difference right here. This was the outside pad, and this is the inside pad. See the big difference there? And on the other side's actually worse than that. It was almost into the steel. So we get that one clean, and clean the back side. I'll let you really look at these before I clean the other one. See how clean that one is compared to this one. If you can't get the shoes off, or the pads off, like I said, those pistons aren't in far enough yet. You got to keep squeezing with your channel locks. They should pretty much, you might have to tweak them just a little bit to get them off, but they should pretty much just fall right off. So that's that one's all clean. Now we'll put our Silk Glide on. You don't want to get crazy with this. You just want to make it so it's on there, not real thick or nothing. Because if this stuff gets on your brake pads, it's not gonna, the pads won't work as good. This is just to help them slide on this, on your pins here. It's like, it's a grease is what it is, but so if you get grease on your brakes, you know what'll happen. It won't stop as good. It'll be noisy too. So now we'll take our pads out. Make sure you got the right size pads too. Best way to do it is hold it up. Make sure your holes are the same size and the same distance apart. Like the 1000 shoes are about that much wider. But same process on the 1000, it's just different shoe, that's it. So now you gotta actually, so this hangs out like this. You gotta squeeze this back to get your pad in there. See, I kind of twisted it on there. There's that one. Pay attention, your friction should be in the middle, so your inside one should be facing outward and your outside one should be facing inward. If not, your brakes won't work and you'll have metal to metal contact. Well, they'll work, but you'll ruin your rotor. It won't stop very well. See, just pull out on this a little bit. Like right now, if this if it wouldn't go on, you got to squeeze your pistons in a little bit more. So that's all there is to that. Then we'll go ahead and put this back on the bracket and the rotor. Just kind of spread your shoes out so it'll go on the rotor. It's on there. It'll kind of sit there by itself. Then make sure it's got the Loctite still on it. If not, put some more blue Loctite on it. This one's good enough. Put your bolts back in. I'll put a link down in the description to a big bottle of blue Loctite too. It's a lot cheaper than getting it like Advanced Auto or something like that. Just tighten these up. We'll put our tire back on. I'm going to put Never Sees on the studs for the lug nuts, just so they're easier to get off in the future. I got a link to this down in the description too as well. It's a lot cheaper buying it there than, like I said, at Advanced or something. It's just like a car from here on out. You just run your star pattern, and I think the actual torque on these is, I think 120 foot-pounds, but don't hold me to that. But you want to get them good and tight. I usually just use my little impact here. Just run your star pattern. So once you get the wheel tightened up, you want to pump your brakes up. It's just like a car. It'll go to the floor and then get them good and tight. Make sure if it goes clear to the floor, you still got gap in there. You got to pump them back up. And all that's doing is closing where you spread your pistons out to get your shoes off. It's just sucking them back down tight around the rotor. So that's all there is to it. You've seen how easy it was. Really, only you need is a 3/4 inch or 19 millimeter socket and a 15 millimeter wrench, and it's a real easy job. It takes about 10 minutes or so. If you have any questions, be sure to drop them down in the comments. And as always, if you found this video helpful, please hit the subscribe button to really help us out. Till next time, you guys stay safe out there.